Dual pivot rim brakes are probably the most common brake mechanism on road bikes prior to them coming out with disc brakes, but are still present either on entry level or just by preference of the particular cyclist. Well, how do you make adjustments to these brakes to give you the best performance and best stopping power? Let's take a look. Usually there's a hex bolt in the fork crown or between the seat stays that accepts a 5mm hex key. To center our dual pivot rim brakes, we need to loosen the hex bolt by turning the bolt counterclockwise, then holding our brakes pads up against the rim tightly, we'll tighten that hex bolt, turning it clockwise, nice and firm. Now we'll go ahead and release the brakes, and they should be evenly centered about the rim. On a few dual pivot rim brakes, you may find a small 2 or 3mm hex key on the caliper opposite the cable. This will allow you to make some fine adjustments in centering the rim brakes. That is, tightening will tend to push on the spring and move the brakes towards this particular side. Loosening it counterclockwise will tend to move the brakes towards the other side, again for fine adjustment. To adjust the amount of throw, or that is how far you need to pull back before the brakes engage, is accomplished at the barrel adjuster. Turning it counterclockwise will lengthen essentially the housing, making the brakes engage sooner. Turning it clockwise will essentially shorten the housing and make you have to pull back further on the brake levers. It's sometimes very difficult to adjust that barrel adjuster, and you'll find it much easier if you hold the brake pads against the rim, and then it allows much easier adjustment either clockwise or counterclockwise. If the barrel adjuster is at its limit and we need to reset it, two tools will make that a lot easier. A hex key, either 4 or 5mm depending on the brakes, and a vice grip, which will hold the brakes in tight against the rim as I readjust the cable at the pinch bolt. You can get an inexpensive Irwin quick grip, or for a few more dollars the Jorgensen Easy Hold. I prefer the Easy Hold only because I use it for household repairs and woodworking also. Using your vice grip, grab hold of the brakes. Tighten the vice grip so the brakes are tight up against the rim. Loosen the pinch bolt. The cable is loose. Then turn your barrel adjuster all the way in. And then out about 1 or 2 turns, grabbing the cable, and grab it with your fingers or long nose pliers, and tighten the pinch bolt. Release your vice grips, and then fine tune with the barrel adjuster until you get a lever pull that's comfortable. If the brakes are making a squealing sound, they may need to be towed in properly. That is, you would like to have the front part of the brake pad hit the rim before the rear of the brake pad. See our video in the upper right on how to do this. Also, whenever you're doing any adjustments on the brake, make sure that the brake pad itself hits on the rim and not the rubber, and do this for the front and rear on both sides. If it's rubbing against the rubber, that's going to heat up real fast and it's going to blow out the tire early in your ride. Finally, as part of your pre-ride checklist, always check the brakes for lever pull and stopping power. If you have any additions, please comment below. Subscribe to keep up with our latest videos. This is Tony of Tony 10 Speed. Safe cycling.